A few days ago on this channel, we called Gunther versus Aldis at SummerSlam, before it was official. Now I've got another one for you, and I know exactly how it sounds. Sami Zayn might actually help Gunther take Aldis down. Welcome back to WWE Galaxy, I'm Nova. I know how that sounds. Trust me, I said it out loud to myself before I even started writing this and had to stop and ask if I'd lost it. But hear me out, because we've been right about this feud more than once already, and there's a real thread here worth pulling on. Gunther and Zayn got cheated out of that fatal four-way in the exact same moment, both of them collateral in a fight that was really only ever about Gunther and Aldis. Gunther's now locked into a singles match with Aldis at SummerSlam, and Zayn is the one person on the entire roster who took that exact same loss. I want to walk you through the actual root of Gunther's anger toward Aldis, why Zayn's own account with Aldis might matter more than anyone's giving it credit for, and why I still think this whole alliance idea is far from a sure thing. Before we get into Zayn, it's worth quickly grounding where all of this actually started, because it's not really about Aldis at all in its origin. Gunther lost the title to Cody Rhodes at Clash in Italy on a finish where his foot was clearly under the bottom rope, and the referee just didn't see it. He got a rematch, chose Sami Zayn as the special guest referee specifically because of bad blood between Zayn and Rhodes, and that backfired on him too, ending with Zayn fast counting him out of the match. By the time Night of Champions rolled around, Zayn was the one who actually walked out with the title, not Gunther. So when Aldis turned around and booked Gunther into a tag match with the exact man tied to both of those controversial finishes, Gunther didn't see it as a fresh start. He saw it as management rubbing his face in a title he still believes was stolen from him twice over. Now let's get into Zayn, because that's really where this theory lives. Start with what Zayn actually lost that night, since it's easy to only think about how this affected Gunther. Zayn fought hard in that tag match. He wanted a real shot at that title picture, and it got taken away from him by outside interference that had nothing to do with his own performance. That's not something that just disappears because Gunther and Aldis have since escalated into something bigger and more personal. Zayn still has his own account to settle with Aldis, even if nobody's talking about it, because Gunther's story has taken over the spotlight completely. Gunther and Zayn are not friends, and I'm not pretending otherwise. Gunther has spent weeks calling Zayn's title win over him a fluke, an outright robbery. Under normal circumstances, there's no version of these two working together. But shared circumstances have a strange way of overriding personal history, especially when neither of them has gotten so much as an explanation from the man who cost them that shot, even if his real target was Gunther the entire time. If Zayn sees an opportunity to get his own answer from Aldis by simply not stopping Gunther from getting his, that's not friendship, that's convenience. And convenience doesn't require two people to like each other. There's also a version of this where Zayn doesn't even need to actively help Gunther to matter here. Sometimes the biggest impact somebody can have is just showing up, standing at ringside, making Aldis aware that there's more than one person in that building with a reason to want him to fail. Zayn doesn't have to throw a single punch for his presence to shift the entire psychology of that match. I've gone back and forth on how realistic this actually is more times than I want to admit, and I almost forgot. If you're enjoying this kind of breakdown, go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe to WWE Galaxy. It actually does help the channel keep going. Alright, back into it. Now, full transparency, because I promised I'd always level with you on this. The evidence for this is thin. WWE hasn't teased it in a graphic, in a backstage segment, or anywhere else pointing toward an alliance forming. This is me connecting dots based on shared motive and timing, not something WWE has confirmed in any way. I want you going into SummerSlam with realistic expectations, not convinced this is locked in. And there's a real reason to doubt it too. Zayn has built his entire career on doing things the right way, even when it costs him. Helping Gunther, a man who's spent the last month attacking an authority figure with real violence, crosses a line that doesn't really fit who Zayn has been as a character. Even if Zayn wants his own closure with Aldis, getting it by aligning with Gunther specifically might be a bridge too far for someone who's consistently chosen principle over convenience. There's also the simple fact that Zayn has never shown any actual warmth toward Gunther at any point in this entire story. Every interaction between them has been tense at best, building trust, Even temporary, transactional trust usually takes some kind of foundation, and right now there isn't one. But here's why I still think it's worth watching for anyway. If Zayn shows up anywhere near that match, even without directly helping Gunther, even just appearing at ringside with whatever he's still carrying into that arena, it changes the entire complexion of Aldis's night. Aldis isn't just fighting the most dangerous man on the roster in his first ever match. He'd be fighting him while wondering whether a second problem is standing a few feet away. Think about what that kind of uncertainty does to somebody heading into a match this significant. Aldis already has to prepare for Gunther's power, his aggression, his willingness to do whatever it takes to win. Adding real uncertainty about who else might show up only makes an already difficult night even harder to prepare for mentally, and mental preparation matters just as much as physical readiness when you're stepping into your very first match against someone with Gunther's resume. And I want to be clear here, this isn't about wanting Aldis to lose. He's earned every bit of respect he's gotten from standing up to Gunther this entire month. If anything, a Zayn wildcard just makes his path to SummerSlam feel that much harder, and that much more worth watching for. Whatever happens, Aldis walking into that ring at all, against everything he's already survived, deserves to be recognized on its own terms, regardless of how the Zayn situation plays out. There's also a wider question worth sitting with here, and it's less about Zayn specifically, and more about how the rest of the roster is watching all of this unfold. Aldis standing up to Gunther, refusing to fold under pressure, has already become something people around him seem to respect. If Zayn were to actually align with Gunther in any capacity, even loosely, it would put him at odds with a growing sentiment backstage that's been quietly building in Aldis's favor. That's a real risk for Zayn's own standing, and it's part of why I lean toward him staying out of it entirely, rather than getting pulled into something that could cost him more than it gains him. It's also worth remembering how unpredictable this entire month has already been. Nobody called Aldis choking out cold on national television weeks ago. Nobody called him swinging a championship belt himself at Madison Square Garden. This story has consistently gone in directions nobody expected, which is exactly why I'm not ruling anything out completely, even a theory that sounded ridiculous to me when I first started putting it together, especially given how many of our other predictions on this exact feud have actually held up. So tell me, do you think Zayn actually gets involved in some way at SummerSlam, or does he stay completely out of it and let Gunther handle this on his own? Drop your prediction in the comments below. I read every single one of them. Like the video if you made it this far, subscribe if you're new around here, and I will catch you in the next one. I'm Nova, WWE Galaxy, out.